What would you do? If the person you grew up with, the one who once laughed, dreamed, and fought by your side, suddenly stood before you, in chains? This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré, a man of power, of vision, and the shocking moment when fate placed his childhood friend at his feet, as a prisoner. Long before the speeches, the uniforms, and the weight of power, Ibrahim Traoré was just a barefoot boy running across the dusty fields of his village. Life was simple, yet every day was a test of survival. By his side was always Malik. Malik, with his wide grin and wild spirit, was the kind of boy who never feared climbing the tallest tree or diving into the river even when the currents were strong. Together they dreamed under the African night sky, dreams far bigger than their tiny village. One day, Malik would whisper, "We'll stand tall. We'll fight for our people. No one will ever go hungry again." And Ibrahim, the quieter of the two, would nod, holding on to every word. But the world around them was changing. Poverty tightened its grip. Families struggled. Ibrahim's parents sacrificed everything to send him away for school, hoping he'd return as a man who could lift them all. Malik, however, remained. The land kept him, and so did the struggles. As the years passed, their paths split. Letters stopped coming. Rumors replaced them. Some said Malik had joined men who carried weapons instead of books. Others claimed he was a leader in the shadows, driven not by greed but by anger at a system that left their people in chains. And so, two boys who once shared dreams grew into men standing on opposite sides of destiny. The afternoon sun burned hot over the capital city. The square pulsed with restless energy. Vendors had abandoned their stalls, children clung to their mothers, and soldiers lined the edges with rifles in hand. Everyone had come to see justice unfold. One by one, prisoners were dragged forward. Their faces carried the dust of battle, their eyes hollow with defeat. Some spat at the ground. Others kept their heads low, already resigned to fate. But then, something shifted. From the corner of his eye, Ibrahim saw a man being forced through the crowd. His wrists were bound in heavy chains, the metal biting into his skin. The people whispered, their voices rising like the buzzing of angry bees. "That one, he's their leader." "No, look closer. Do you see who it is?" The prisoner's head remained bowed, hair falling across his face. The soldiers shoved him forward, and the dust clung to his torn clothes. Ibrahim narrowed his eyes, a strange pull in his chest. And then, the man lifted his face. Time stopped. The roar of the crowd faded into silence. The world seemed to hold its breath. It was Malik, his childhood friend, the boy of the fields and rivers, now standing before him in chains. Gasps tore through the square. Mothers covered their mouths. Soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. And Ibrahim? His chest tightened, his heartbeat thundered in his ears. The whispers spread like wildfire. "Does the president know him?" "They were brothers once," I heard. What should have been another routine trial had just turned into a storm that no one saw coming. The air between them was heavy, thicker than the dust rising from the ground. The crowd no longer shouted. They simply watched, as though history itself was being written before their eyes. Ibrahim stood inches away from Malik, his chest rising and falling, his jaw clenched tight. He was no longer the president in that moment. He was just a boy again, staring at his best friend, Ibrahim. The square fell silent. The chants, the drumming, the restless whispers, all vanished into a heavy, suffocating stillness. Only the chains clinking around Malik's wrists could be heard. Ibrahim descended the steps from the platform, his boots pressing into the dust. Each stride felt slower than the last, as though the weight of memory was dragging him back into the past. The crowd's eyes followed him, thousands watching, thousands holding their breath, and then he stood before him, the man in chains, the boy from his childhood. "Ibrahim, Malik, is it really you?" "Malik, you've grown into the leader they always said you'd be. But me? I took the road they warned us about." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The two men stared at each other, not as ruler and rebel, but as brothers separated by 7 long years of silence. "Ibrahim, why Malik? Why betray everything we once dreamed of?" Malik, with fire in his eyes, "Betray? No, brother. I fought because those dreams died the day our people went hungry. The day promises turned to lies. You sit on a throne. I chose the battlefield." The words struck Ibrahim like arrows. The memory of their childhood dreams clashed violently with the reality before his eyes. The crowd leaned closer, their whispers trembling like wind in dry grass. Two destinies, two men, bound by friendship, now divided by power. For the first time in his rule, Ibrahim's heart trembled, not before soldiers, not before foreign powers, but before a single chained man, who once called him brother, who once promised they'd stand side by side. And now here he was, branded a traitor, Ibrahim, voice cracking. You could have stood with me, Malik. Why choose this road? Malik, because your road left our people behind. You lead the nation, yes. But do you hear their cries at night? Do you feel their hunger? I chose to fight, even if it meant being chained. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Soldiers shifted uneasily, unsure if they were watching a trial or a reunion. Two men, two brothers, one bound by duty, the other bound in chains. And in that silence, Ibrahim realized this was not just about law or rebellion. This was about loyalty, betrayal, and the cost of power. The square trembled with silence. Soldiers tightened their grip on their rifles, waiting for the order. The law was clear. Rebels must be punished. But Ibrahim's heart was not bound by law in that moment. It was bound by memory. He looked at Malik, his friend, his brother. His mind raced between duty and blood, between the voice of the people and the voice of his own soul. Soldier, whispering to another. What will he decide? If he spares the rebel, the people may turn, other soldier. But look at his face. That man is no stranger to him. Ibrahim raised his hand. The crowd froze. Every eye fixed on him. Every heartbeat waited for his word. Ibrahim, remove his chains. A thunder of gasps erupted. Some shouted in protest, others cried out in disbelief. The soldiers hesitated, torn between obedience and law. Soldier. But sir, the punishment, Ibrahim. I said, remove them. The metal clattered against the ground as Malik's chains fell. The sound echoed louder than any drumbeat. Malik stumbled forward, his body weak, his spirit shaken. He looked up at Ibrahim, tears glistening in his eyes. Malik, whispering, after everything, you still call me brother? Ibrahim, always Malik, always. And there, beneath the blazing African sun, the two men embraced. Not as ruler and rebel, not as judge and prisoner, but as brothers, reminding a nation that mercy can be stronger than vengeance. In life, power can test a man's heart. It can divide brothers, turn friends into enemies, and place impossible choices before us. But Ibrahim Traoré reminded us that the greatest strength is not found in punishment. It is found in forgiveness. By releasing Malik, he did something few leaders dare to do. He chose mercy over vengeance and unity over division. He showed his people and the world that even after 7 years of silence and betrayal, brotherhood can still rise above chains. And now, I ask you this. If you were standing in Ibrahim's place, would you have chosen justice or mercy? Comment below the words "Brotherhood never dies" if this story touched your heart. Don't just watch silently. Let your voice be part of this story. Because one day someone may need to hear your words of forgiveness. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Traore's Rich Africa. Every story we tell carries the soul of our land, and your support helps these stories live on. But don't leave just yet. Because the journey doesn't end here. On your screen right now, you'll see our last video. What happens when Ibrahim Traoré catches a gold thief? Watch. Click it. Because trust me, you won't want to miss how that story unfolds. This story may end here, but the lesson continues there.